Yeah. I hope that little video I made in the robe doesn't frighten people. Some people don't have a sense of humor. Some people really don't have a sense of humor. Sometimes that's the best way to reach people, though. It's a little bit of humor. Some people don't get it. They don't get it at all. You can make a blatantly obvious video that's meant to humor people, and some people will get upset. Never mind. On gold. Anyway, for the past several years, and by the way, when I was a lot younger, I invested in gold. Yeah? Look for low premium gold, which of course back in the day was Cougarans. Low premium Cougarans. Means there wasn't too much of a markup above spot versus American Eagle. And of course, better, of course, is to buy gold futures, but I mean, that's like cryptocurrency. You can't have it palpably in your hand, right? This is actually some gold leaf on this plaster apple. And of course, that's really important to have something tangible. I kind of laugh at crypto. Crypto, of course, I've said is digital farts. You have to have electricity for it to work, you have to have an internet for it to work, and you have to have a network for it to work, and you have to have people that care about it for it to work. And that's a lot of ifs. So in a poo hits the fan situation, crypto is essentially, it's just flat out worthless. But everybody said that when I talk about gold, I'm also talking about silver. I used to buy 100-ounce Engelhard bricks, and back then silver was $4 an ounce. I like to go back in time and buy gold when it was $400 an ounce. I knew platinum would go way up when it was at a low in 2019, I believe, or was it the beginning of 2020. I knew it was at a really long time stretch low. I should have bought a bunch of platinum. I was 100% right. I didn't. Of course, I don't have money to invest in a lot of precious metals like that. I've taken everything that I have that's not glued down and buy land. But here's some of the things that are true about gold, and yet gold and silver, we could lump those two together, even though, of course, they're not the same value. Even while this is true, gold is still not something that if people are worried about the future, of course, it is a hedge against inflation, which, of course, it absolutely is. But we're still talking about a stable society here. It's a good way to save money. Not really. It's not, because gold does this number, and of course money becomes more valueless just sitting there, especially with how the Fed is printing money right now. And I don't pretend to be, nor am I pretending to be some sort of financial wizard in this video, so before you go off and attack me, let's just listen a second about some facts here. Easy to buy and sell, that's not necessarily true. You know, when an economy is really stable and society is still intact and the federal government is still intact, it's easy to get rid of, but not like really easy. It's not like moving cash around or money in the bank. And of course, I've never trusted banks. I never will trust banks. I just got done mowing the yard, so I had all this stuff fly up in my face, including a poison ivy, so sorry about that. Does require no maintenance, but I mean, money doesn't require any maintenance either. You say, well, the price is stable. Well, it's quasi-stable, but not really. Gold is way down recently. It's easily transferable. Not compared to money, it's not. Doesn't deteriorate with time. Well, this is true. It's kind of a universal currency, which it is. Gold always has been a universal currency. But people think about wealth, but they don't think about protecting the wealth, which is incredibly stupid. And I know a lot of places in the world, you're treated like subjects instead of citizens. And there's a huge difference between a citizen and a subject. That's a matter for another discussion, however. Let's just imagine a desperate situation, too, here for a second. What are you going to do? Things are desperate. You got a bunch of gold. Say they're quarter-ounce Rams or quarter-ounce American Eagle or quarter-ounce Maple Leafs. It's better to buy like quarter or half-ounce than it is to buy ounces. You know, most things as far as currency would not be in ounces of gold. They'd be in tenths or quarter ounces or half ounces. It kind of shocks me that people buy that. For investment purposes, that's fine, but If you're buying gold or silver for, of course, silver is cheap, basically 24 bucks an ounce. Of course, you buy that an ounce, but not gold. You buy it in quarter ounce or tenth of an ounce. Well, if things are desperate, what are you going to do? You're going to trade it for cash? You've already reached the point where gold is now the currency. You're going to trade it for cash, which is essentially valueless? Of course you wouldn't. Just imagine the scenario where gold is now not all important, but essentially important. Say the poop has hit the fan. Things have deteriorated that far. You got no means to protect it, or seemingly no means to protect it. What are you going to do? You're going to trade it for food? Are you going to, what, find somebody stupid enough that's going to trade off their food, which keeps them alive, for inedible metal? So you're not going to trade it for cash if the poop hits the fan, because cash is useless, which is the reason why you're trying to get rid of gold. You're not going to trade it for food because you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody stupid enough, unless it's like 1 ounce per meal. So you trade like $2,000 of gold for a $10 meal. Somebody might actually do this. Oh, well, you know, society might not be totally collapsed forever. What are you going to trade it for? You're not going to trade it for cash. You're not going to find anybody that's going to trade it for defense tools or food. What are you going to do with it? Here's what happens in society, in a stable society. Okay? It goes like this. There's 4 things. Society's really stable. Everything's going okay. Plastic. There's plastic, paper, gold, silver, and lead. Yeah? Plastic meaning credit cards, right? Plastic, which is universal currency. Society's halfway stable. Plastic. Things get more desperate. People maxed out their credit cards, your debit cards. Yeah. Paper, meaning paper money, which I know paper money is basically cotton. Of course, it depends on which country you're in, but it's called paper money. Right? So it goes plastic, paper. Things get more desperate. Gold. Well, when you got gold, you got a problem. That means things have gotten so desperate that you've got a bunch of gold and or silver. It doesn't make any difference. You're never going to trade it for cash unless society reconstitutes itself. You're not going to trade it for food because you're not going to find anybody dumb enough that's going to trade protection tools and food for a useless metal. What are you going to do with it? When society gets to the poop hits the fan situation, gold essentially becomes worthless. What becomes valuable then is something else. So we reach the 4th tier where poop hits the fan. Stable society, plastic. Worse, paper. Gold and or silver, and then lead. So it goes plastic, paper, gold, lead. I'll let you guess what lead is. Hope you're smart enough to figure that one out. I'm sure you are. Kind of like rock, paper, scissors, you know? You ever do that rock, paper, scissors thing? I don't know if you're familiar with rock, paper, scissors. Maybe Europeans aren't familiar with it. Just look up rock, paper, scissors. What is it there? Rock beats scissors, scissors cuts paper, paper covers rock. You know that whole thing, right? There's a 4th one there. I've seen it in comedy bits, and we'll talk about a hammer. I say rock, paper, scissors, hammer. One guy always did hammer, which was this. So he always won because hammer beats rock, paper, scissors. That's kind of like lead. You got paper, plastic, and gold, or silver. And then you got the hammer, which is lead. You'd never play plastic or paper or gold / silver. What you'd always play is the hammer. Plastic, of course, is where you have trust and reason still exists. Paper is where trade and government still exists. Gold, because paper is a promissory note that you're putting trust in the freaking government, which nobody should ever do. Gold is, of course, where trade still exists. Yeah? Gold has always had value since ancient days. You know, you beat it into thin sheets, you make jewelry out of it, all sorts of pretty stuff that people really, really, really love. Everybody always loves gold. So gold is where trade still exists. Lead is where no government is, no trade really is, no established trade. There's no trust, and there's no reason anymore. You can't reason with anybody. Technically, lead is the currency of the jungle. By the way, these are lead balls here. Lead is the currency of the jungle. I'm not telling anybody what to invest in. I'm not giving anybody investment advice in this video. I'll let you figure out what lead is. Yeah, I'm just saying the word lead. Yeah, lead. Wealth without security is insanity. There's a reason why these rich people have 24-hour security and, guards and safe rooms. Over the years, so many people have talked about, what to do to hedge against what is really an unstable world. I mean, you really have to be blind, deaf, and stupid and have had your head been living in a cave for many years to not see that society is, going circling the drain. Wealth without security is insane. Someone's like, oh, I've got 200 ounces. I don't have any gold, by the way. Oh, I got 200 ounces of gold in my safe. Some rich person would say, who cares? Wealth without security is useless. If the poo is the fan, you're going to be starving and that gold is going to be right about worthless. Totally close to worthless. The things that should be cherished are land. People say, oh, someone could take your land from you, the government. Well, land is supposed to be subsidized with lead. You get land, skills, lead, food, seeds, and then lastly, some form of currency. But those are all currencies themselves. As long as the country or the world hasn't, the poop hasn't hit the fan, gold and silver will have value. Barring that, there is only the currency of land, skills, lead, food, and seeds. And of course, trust in a small group of other people that take care of each other. Like that guy's the farmer, that guy's the security guard that's watching over the land, make sure nobody steals the food or, steals the various tools for staying safe. Europeans, they really don't think like that. And a lot of Americans, especially city folk, they're it's kind of like a domesticated cat. There's still like a wild beast in there somewhere, buried really, 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 really deep. Actually, human beings are way, way worse than the most domesticated, declawed, spayed and neutered cat. They really haven't got an idea about, self-preservation or preservation of family. Let me reiterate that. The society erodes. It goes plastic, meaning credit cards, debit cards. Plastic, paper, gold, silver, lead. That's not my opinion or a feeling or belief. It's hardcore fact. Fort Knox is a great example. Somebody says, there's no gold in Fort Knox. Fort Knox is about 70 miles west of here. Enormous amounts of gold, right? Someone's like the old James Bond thing, Goldfinger, where they break into Fort Knox, right, get all the gold. Even though the movie wasn't based on that. Most people don't realize that Fort Knox is surrounded by the world's largest installation of tanks. In other words, all around Fort Knox there, it's called Fort Knox for a reason, is a military base with lots and lots and lots of lead. However, the the United States military, they've opted for something. I got some pink dye on my finger. They've opted for something better than lead. They use something that's really, really like lead, and they use depleted uranium. So if you're the military, they don't talk about lead. They use depleted uranium, which is what's used in those tanks. Currency has to be backed up by preservation means. But just think about to the point, nobody does. They talk about gold and silver. Like, I'm going to buy gold and silver. It's like, well, good. How about you buy some seeds, some self-preservation equipment? I'll let you guess what that is. Land. Two things I appreciate most in this world. Wisdom above all else, and second is land. Wisdom and land. Land feeds you, land keeps you alive, and then you have to have the ability to keep it. It's like, now that you got it, can you keep it? It's kind of like for a naked person running down the street with $1 million in cash strapped on his back. He's got nothing but the cash. He's not going to have it for very long, is he? So it goes plastic, paper, gold, and lead. But just think about that for a second. Imagine the point where the gold, of course, gold has value in a stable society. People say, well, gold has value in an unstable society. Up to a point. It quickly loses its usefulness. Very, 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 very quickly. Imagine the point where plastic is useless. Just imagine with me a second. A point where plastic has become all useless. Paper money is only a promissory note of the government, so governments collapse. The poos at the fence, like, well, I got gold and silver. Yeah, but what you going to do with it? You going to trade it for money? Because the money has become worthless. What you going to do? You going to trade it for self-preservation tools? No, people aren't going to do that. Unless you say, I'm going to offer you, $10,000 of gold for... It might happen then. You're not going to trade it for food either. Really, there's this narrow window where gold and silver, in a emergency situation where everything is declining and circling the drain, where gold and silver have a value to them. And it is really narrow. You're not going to trade it for cash. Cash has become worthless. And you're not going to convince anybody to trade it for food or self-preservation tools. Why doesn't anybody think about these facts? This is what we call asset diversification. I don't have any money, but why don't people think sensibly and logically? Yeah? Reasonable question? Tell me what you think. Yeah? I read every comment. I love to hear from you. I'm always a sponge for information. I really, really am. Thanks.